and welcome back to my channel, where I'm going to quickly explain the optional class features provided by Tasha's Cauldron of Everything for the Druid class. If you did not watch the video where I explain what those base optional class feature types are, I highly recommend you go watch that video, and I will provide a link in the description below for you. The Druid gains two features that are considered enhancement features, and one that I would consider a retraining feature. Essentially, this means that two of the new features adjust existing features that you already have, while the third offers you the means to adjust your cantrips. The first enhancement feature is called Additional Druid Spells, which gives you access to spells the Druid did not have a means to cast prior to the release of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. There are a total of 16 new spells that the Druid now has access to, and they range from levels 1 through to level 8, and do not include level 9. This list of spells is in complement to the existing Druidic spells already available to the class. So when the Druid levels up, they can choose a spell in this list versus that of the standard list, providing a wider overall selection of available spells. And as you can see, this feature becomes available right away at level 1, so it's not something you need to worry about choosing at a later level. Additionally, the Dungeon Master should permit this because really all it is doing is granting you access to a couple of extra spells to give your character a little bit of variety. The next enhancement feature is gained at level 2, and it is called Wild Companion. At first glance, it might look like it's an optional feature that would be gained at level 2, and you're partially right, but it is in fact an enhancement to an existing feature called Wild Shape. With Wild Shape, the Druid gains the ability to shapeshift into limited types of animal shapes depending on their available challenge rating and the character's level. But with the Wild Companion feature, there is now the ability to make use of the Wild Shape feature to cast the Find Familiar spell, and the creature that you will summon will be of the Fey type rather than the normal Beast type. The familiar will remain around for a number of hours equal to half of your level, so a level 2 through level 3 druid can summon a familiar who will remain for 1 hour, while a level 4 through level 5 druid will summon one who will remain for 2 hours, matching the duration that would normally apply to your character's wild shape change. This also means you can use this feature twice before needing to take a short or a long rest. And that is primarily because you are expending the usage of your Wild Shape feature in order to cast Find Familiar. Now, there are a couple of things that I would like to point out about the utilization of this particular feature. The first is that normally, Find Familiar requires 10 gold pieces worth of charcoal, incense, and herbs that must be burnt or consumed in a brass brazier. That doesn't happen when you're making use of the Wild Shape feature to actually create this familiar, because you're expending your feature's usage in order to bypass the need to cast that spell using these particular material components. Normally, you would have to spend 10 gold pieces worth of material components. In this case, you don't. Now, in our particular example here, I'm using a level 20 druid. So the reason why Wild Shape here has 0 daily rest requirements is simply because they have already gained the Arch Druid feature, which gives them unlimited use of the Wild Shape feature. Normally you would have 2 uses before you would have to make a short or a long rest in order to recover these uses. But because this character is already at max level, we don't need to worry about that. Just keep that in mind when you're making these adjustments on your own character, as long as you're not already level 20. The next thing that you're going to want to do is add Wild Companion to your actual power group here. And the reason for that is it's going to give you very quick access to the Find Familiar spell that you can then drag over and show to the Dungeon Master that you're casting, as well as drag over and show that you're using the Wild Companion feature to the Dungeon Master. So if they're unsure as to what it is, you just do that. Or if they're unsure what Find Familiar is, you just do that. Yeah, according to that, you can't. That's because you don't own this. So, this will give them access to the Find Familiar spell. So it's not that big of a deal. But you might be asking, well, what kind of animals or creatures can I summon? And how do I access them? Well, as a druid, you should already know how to gain access to the NPC's creature list. And I'm just going to minimize that. What you do is you go to Library, select All or Play. This will pop open the NPCs button. You access this, and then you can filter based on the type of creature that you're going to be summoning. So in this particular case, we would be able to summon a Fae, which means that we could summon a Sprite, which is a quarter challenge rating. So it's a fitting class of creature, if you will, that would make sense for your ability to summon. Other supplements and other books will provide potentially additional types of Fae that you could summon, but I don't have those loaded in this particular case. And of course, because this might be something that you may use frequently, it's probably beneficial to drag that particular NPC sheet down to a quick slot here so that you can just quickly open and close it. So how do you actually go about using this? Well, what you would do is at the time that you want to cast Find Familiar, you would indicate to the Dungeon Master that you're using Wild Shape, and that you're going to use the Find Familiar portion of this through Wild Companion to be able to summon a Fey-based creature. They may ask which type of creature that you want. You would go to the NPCs button, search on the type of creature, and say, I want this. They will let you know whether you can summon that particular creature. Now, what'll end up happening is that the Dungeon Master will actually go ahead and open up that NPC. So just one second, let me do that on the NPC on the Dungeon Master side. I'm going to open up Fae, and it was the sprite we were looking at. And what they will do is they will drag and drop that particular NPC sheet over top of your portrait in the upper left corner. And once that happens, you will now have a working copy that you will use. So this one here won't necessarily be the correct sheet. As you can see, it opens up an entirely different sheet here. And you'll want to drag that down and add it to your quick slot. And this is the one that the Dungeon Master shared. There are a couple of variations of sprite. So the one that I chose came from the D&D Monsters Manual. There is one from the Player's Handbook, which is the one that you saw that we opened up from this slot. So it's going to be entirely optional as to which sprite or which Fey creature the Dungeon Master is going to link. And for your information, there are about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 in the list on the Dungeon Master side, whereas the player only saw the one. But that is essentially how you would set up and use Wild Companion. The next feature is gained initially at level 4 and is one that will keep reoccurring at levels 8, 12, 16, and 19. This is a retraining feature called Cantrip Versatility, and it is applied whenever you gain an ability score improvement feature, hence why it's usable at the levels previously mentioned. What this feature gives you is the ability to take one of your current cantrips that you have already studied. So if we take a look here and expand out this list, one of these existing cantrips here, and replace it with another cantrip that is available from the list of spells for the Druid. Be careful though, because if any one of these particular cantrips has been provided through a racial trait or some other feature or feat, you would not be able to change out that cantrip. You would only be able to change out the cantrips that were provided by the Druid class initially, or another cantrip that comes from the Druid class itself. And as previously indicated, you get the ability to make these changes again at levels 8, 12, 16, and 19, giving you a little bit of flexibility over the life of your character, because who knows, maybe some of the usage of your cantrips has changed over that particular period of time and you're looking for something a little bit different. To get access to your cantrips, all you have to do is select the spellcasting feature from your class sheet, grab open the Druid spells list, and then this is the list of cantrips that are available to the Druid. And that's it. You would then simply remove a cantrip from this list and drag over one of the cantrips from the other list to replace it. And that's all you need to do in order to actually set up and or change any cantrips that you drag over. The last thing that I want to go over is around the default retraining abilities that are available to the Druid and how you can actually use them. Because this class only has a retraining feature that adjusts cantrips for the character, things like skill proficiencies, subclasses, and feature options that don't have any additional declaration of how to change them need to be handled through the default rules provided by Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And the video that I mentioned earlier is the video where I describe how that functionality works, so you should go watch that. But in conclusion, it's nice to see that the Druid class has added quite a few additional spells the player can now use, and given an alternate option for the wild shape feature that seems interesting to use, and I look forward to seeing some of the players potentially make use of that down the road. However, this does bring us to the end of this particular video, and I want to thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I wish to thank you for taking the time to watch this particular video. I hope you found it informative and useful to familiarizing yourself with Fantasy Grounds in general, and that you had fun in the process. If you found the video useful and you liked the content of the particular video, go ahead and click that like button to let me know. And if you have any questions specific to the topic covered by this particular video, or just have some comments in general, please feel free to post something in the comments section, and I will do my best to respond to any questions that are asked. Additionally, I do release content quite regularly, and it's generally specific to Fantasy Grounds or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons at this time. So if you'd like to be notified when new videos come out, go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell to ensure that notification is sent to you when I release a new video.